One minute, it's a rap battle argument about a Verzuz. The next minute, it's somebody's wife being dragged into it. And before anyone can even process that jump, TIU. His 21-year-old son is on Instagram talking about 50 Cent's dead mother and posting what looks like her gravesite so fast that the internet barely has time to ask, did he really just say that? Before the screenshots are everywhere. And then, right when you expect the loudest, messiest response imaginable, 50 Cent answers with a frog meme and lol. That's why this story has people glued to their screens, because this isn't just a back and forth between two veteran rappers anymore. It's a chain reaction. And the biggest question sitting in the middle of it all is the one everyone keeps repeating. After King Harris went that far and put the whole family in the crosshairs, did TII step in on camera and grab him by the neck like people claim because King crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed? To understand why people even believe that could happen, you have to rewind to what really lit the fuse, a Verzuz situation that never fully died. For months, the tension between TID and 50 Cent had been smoldering around the idea of a Verzuz battle. It wasn't framed as some random new beef out of nowhere. The way it's been described, there's history here, there's pride here, and there's a very specific kind of irritation that builds when one person believes something was agreed upon, while the other person acts like it wasn't even real. That's the first curiosity point most people miss. The argument isn't just who would win. The argument is what was promised versus what was denied. The back and forth heated up again when T.I. sat down on the $1 million worth of game podcast and spoke on the possibility of doing a Verzuz with 50 Cent. According to T.I. Outlet, the matchup wasn't supposed to be framed like two enemies going to war. In his telling, the point of it was to celebrate Catalog's two bodies of work without turning it into something ugly. He also claimed it wasn't like he just woke up one day and publicly challenged 50 with no conversation. He implied it had been discussed. He implied there was a plan. And here's where the story tightens up and gets tense. T.I. claimed the two of them had been moving like there was an agreement. He suggested that them traveling around Los Angeles and selling events together didn't just happen by accident. He made it sound like there had been real momentum, real understanding, and a script for how it was supposed to play out. T.I. would bring it up publicly, and then 50 Cent would respond, and everything would move forward from there. Source. But when T.I. brought it up publicly, he said 50 Cent acted confused. That detail matters because it changes the emotional temperature. If someone tells you yes privately and then acts like, huh? Publicly, that doesn't just feel like disagreement. It feels like disrespect. It feels like someone trying to rewrite the story in real time. And T.I., at least by the way he described it, took that personally. He reportedly said something along the lines of questioning 50's character, basically implying, if you don't want to do it, then just say you don't want to do it. Don't move like you're down and then act brand new in public. That's what he framed as the problem. Not the Verzuz itself, what the Verzuz represented: respect, follow-through, and pride. Source. And then T.I. used the phrase that became the headline fuel. He said he lost all respect for 50 Cent because of the way the situation was handled. Now here's where curiosity kicks in again, because you have to ask, what happens when you publicly say you lost all respect for a man like 50 Cent? 50 Cent has a reputation that makes situations like this unpredictable. He's a rapper, yes, but he's also known for online trolling, for not letting disrespect slide, and for responding in ways that don't always look like traditional rap beef behavior. He doesn't just reply, he provokes. He escalates sideways. And if you know his pattern, you know he often aims at the soft spots, especially when he feels someone is trying to embarrass him. So the moment T.I. put the lost respect label on him publicly, the tension wasn't just about a Verzuz anymore. It became about public positioning. Who looks like the one who backed out? Who looks like the one who's scared? Who looks like the one who's lying? And who looks like the one who's lying? And who looks like the one calling the other out? And sure enough, things started turning into insult for insult exchanges. The situation, as it was described, included 50 not wanting anything to do with a Verzuz, leading to him taking shots at T.I., including calling him King Brat in an Instagram comment. Then T.I. fired back with language implying that 50 was playing on his name when only one of us is a rat in real life, claiming he had paperwork and that a transcript was available online, telling 50 to get in the box or shut up, calling him soft and repeating that he'd lost his respect. This part of the story is important because it shows the beef moving from music conversation into real-life accusation energy. Source: at this point, the insults were still between the two men. That's where most rap beefs stay, even ugly ones, even petty ones. The unwritten rule is, keep it between the artists. But the second someone pulls family into it, everything changes, and that's exactly the moment this whole situation shifted into a different category. Because shortly after those comments started circulating, 50 Cent made a move that redirected the entire fight away from T.I. and toward T.I. and his wife Tame, Isentwiv Tamika Tiny Harris. According to the way it was reported and discussed, 50 Cent posted an unflattering photo of Tiny to his Instagram. He captioned it with something like, "I keep saying keep my name out your mouth, okay?" Source. Now you might think, it's just a post. But in the context of this kind of beef, that's not just a post. That's a signal. That's a statement that says, I'm not limiting this to the two of us anymore. I'm choosing the targets. I'm choosing what becomes public. And if you want to talk about respect, I'll show you what disrespect looks like. And here's the curiosity piece that makes this moment even more explosive. Most people expected T.I. to be the first one to step through that door and respond. Instead, the first person who ran through it was King Harris T.I. and Tiny's 21-year-old son. That's the moment the internet really lit up, because the entire conflict suddenly included a younger, unpredictable voice, someone who doesn't have decades of industry experience, someone who doesn't have the same discipline with public messaging, and someone who might not be thinking 3 moves ahead the way the older generation does. And King didn't respond quietly. He didn't respond with a slick caption or a subtle jab. He got on camera. He posted an explicit, profanity-laced rant aimed directly at 50 Cent. And he didn't just defend his mother. He went somewhere that even in the world of internet beef made people pause, because King repeatedly referenced 50 Cent's dead mother. He reportedly told 50 to post an image of his own mother's grave instead of bringing up King's mom. That's the part that made people's stomach drop, because it wasn't a simple insult. It was a very specific kind of disrespect aimed at one of the most painful and personal pieces of 50 Cent's life story, Source. And then King didn't stop at words. He allegedly posted images of headstones on his Instagram story. He wrote something like, "This where your mama at," and he also shared a headstone with the name Sabrina Jackson, adding statements that included telling 50 to dig up your mama. Source. That's the move that turned this from online drama into something people described as dangerous. Because 50 Cent's mother, Sabrina Jackson, is not just a random detail. Her death is a significant part of 50's biography, something he has referenced over the years as a defining trauma. The story as described in the script is that she died in 1983 under suspicious circumstances, believed to be a suspected homicide, drugged, left unconscious, and her apartment set on fire. No arrests. No identified killer. 50 was 8 years old when it happened, and King chose that as his target. Source. Now pause here, because this is where the public reaction splits, and the split itself is another reason the story stays viral. Some people understood the instinct. If someone posts your mother in a mocking way, you want to defend her. That part is basic. That part is human. But most of the conversation didn't revolve around whether King should defend Tiny. It revolved around how far he went while doing it. Because there's a difference between clapping back and digging into a dead parent. And the internet noticed that line being crossed in real time. People started saying King was disrespectful and could have handled it privately. Because defending your mother doesn't require attacking someone else's dead mother. That became the central debate. Not, is King loyal, but is King reckless? Not, did 50 start it, but did King just make it worse for everyone connected to him? And that everyone connected to him part is the real weight here. Because King Harris isn't just any kid on the internet. He represents a family name. He represents a household with multiple siblings. And when he posts something like that, it doesn't just stick to him. It sticks to the whole family, whether they asked for it or not. Now here's where the story takes another unexpected turn. People expected 50 Cent to go nuclear. A lot of people thought 50 would explode publicly, threaten, rant, or unleash a series of posts that turned the situation into all-out war. But the way this played out, 50 did something that looked almost casual on the surface, which is exactly why it felt threatening to so many people watching. He treated it like a joke. Instead of matching the emotional intensity, he posted a Pepe the Frog image with the caption, "Loc, Source." And if you understand the psychology people assign to 50 Cent's trolling style, that response hits differently. Because a calm "lol" after someone disrespects your dead mother doesn't read like forgiveness. It reads like calculation. It reads like, I'm not giving you the reaction you want. I'm letting you sit in your own mess. I'm watching you. I'm saving the response for when it benefits me. That's why people online described it as more menacing than a rant. because it makes the audience ask, if 50 isn't angry in public, where is he directing that energy and when? Meanwhile, T.I. didn't stay quiet. The script describes T.I. and responding directly in the comments of 50's post, writing an aggressive, explicit insult aimed back at 50, framing it as, you can post whatever you want, it doesn't change what you are. And then T.I. followed it with Instagram story updates, one of them implying that even if 50 wins, he's still not a good man, good dad, or decent individual. This part matters because it shows T.I. tried Tate, framing the dispute as a moral one, not just a rap one. He's not only arguing about talent, he's arguing about character. Source. Then T.I. did what veteran rappers often do when they feel disrespected. He turns a conflict into music. He went to the studio and previewed what sounded like a diss track aimed at 50, teasing a snippet described as war, with captions implying, oh, you want war? All right, we on that. The script frames it as a roughly 100-second preview and suggests it may be connected to his final album, Kill the King, expected later in 2026. So. Now look at the contrast, because it's one of the biggest tension points in this entire story. T.I.'s approach is strategic, veteran, and familiar bars. Captions, a diss track preview, public statements about respect and character. King's approach is emotional, direct, and explosive camera rant, profanity, targeting a deceased mother, posting headstone images. And that contrast is exactly why people started saying King wasn't helping his family, he was exposing them. Because in a traditional rap feud, music can be argued, lyrics can be debated, and shots can be traded with some level of industry insulation. But when you bring someone's dead mother into it with images and dig her up language, you create a type of hostility that doesn't fit neatly back into just rap. And here's the next curiosity point that keeps people engaged. 50 Cent is not just a rapper. The script emphasizes that he has a powerful position in television through G-Unit Film and Television, with connections and resources that can create pressure beyond social media. That's why, in this framing, King's actions are seen as a liability, not just a disrespectful moment. Because the fear isn't only 50 might respond online, the fear is 50 might respond in ways that affect opportunities, reputations, and public narratives. And then the script adds another layer. 50 Cent has dealt with a rapper's kid jumping into beef before referencing a previous feud involving Diddy's son. The point being made is that 50 isn't new to this scenario. He's not surprised by it. He knows how to handle it, and his pattern allegedly involves patience and precision. So now you've got a volatile mix, a long-simmering Verzuz dispute, snitching accusations, a wife dragged into it through a photo post, a son attacking a dead mother and posting headstones, and a man like 50 Cent responding with a frog meme and lol. That's why the internet is framing it like something bigger is coming. Because lol isn't closure, not in this kind of story. It's a pause. And pauses in beef are where people start asking, what's the next move? Now, the title claim that people are circulating, T.I. grabbed King Harris by the neck on camera, doesn't appear out of nowhere in this narrative. It's tied to a father-son dynamic that was already public and already physical before. To understand why people believe T.I. could put hands on King again, you have to go back to November 2023, when the world watched an argument between T.I. Cat and King inside a stadium suite escalate into something physical. This was captured during an Atlanta Falcons game inside the Mercedes-Benz Stadium suite where T.I.M. and King had a back and forth that reportedly became violent. The reason for the argument, as described, was King getting upset at his parents for mocking his claim that he used to live on the streets despite being born into privilege. And the key detail, King was broadcasting the situation live on Instagram. Source. That's a crucial point because it wasn't just a family argument. It was a family argument being performed in public. And in the script's framing, T.I. reacted strongly to the embarrassment factor, saying King was embarrassing himself and the family. The clip allegedly shows physical grappling, the camera falling, the sound of a struggle, and T.I. asserting dominance afterward, with lines implying King can't do anything to him. After the video went viral, King reportedly posted messages about standing on business and not caring who someone is posts that were later removed. So the public already had a reference point, T.I. care. Physically restraining King on camera during a heated, embarrassing public moment. Source sense. Source. That's why, in the current situation, when people say T.I. grabbed him by the neck, it doesn't sound impossible to the audience. It sounds consistent with what they've already seen. And look at the parallel the script is hinting at in 2023. T.I. said King was embarrassing the family on camera while King was going live. In 2026, King goes viral again for embarrassing behavior on Instagram by attacking 50 Cent's dead mother. In both cases, the alleged trigger is public embarrassment plus danger to the family name. So if you're watching this story unfold, the suspicion becomes if TIT physically stepped in before to stop King from making the family look foolish. Would he do it again now that King has put them in a conflict with 50 Cent on the most personal level possible? That's the central why behind the claim. Now, the script doesn't frame King as someone who only has one incident. It frames him as someone with a pattern public controversy, public escalation, public trouble that creates pressure on the family. It references that King was arrested in 2024 due to an open warrant from a 2022 case involving DUI, speeding, and operating a vehicle with a suspended license. It also describes the circumstances as King being arrested after nearly striking a police car while leaving a gas station. Source, this matters in the narrative because it strengthens the argument that T.I. is under constant reputation pressure, not just from random internet drama, but from repeated situations involving King that become public and invite judgment. Then the script layers in something even heavier, renewed allegations and scrutiny tied to longtime critic Sabrina Peterson, with claims that T.I. and Tiny were again under investigation, along with mention of purported text messages and allegations involving a young woman. The script also clearly says T.I. and Tiny have consistently denied the accusations and described them as malicious fabrications. Source: this section of the story is included to show the environment T.I. is operating in. The family name already carries controversy, already carries scrutiny, and already carries people watching them waiting for the next headline. So when King goes viral for something as extreme as grave posting and dig up your mama commentary, the script frames it as not just another clapback, but another major reputational bomb. And then you're back to the core fear. 50 Cent is the kind of person who doesn't need to yell to cause damage. The script emphasizes that 50 has been in feuds with major figures for decades and often outlasts people, out-trolls them, and controls the narrative on his own terms. It frames him as someone with patience, power, and the ability to keep the pressure going without rushing. So when 50 posts a Pepe the Frog meme and lol, it's not taken as weakness. It's taken as a warning disguised as humor. Now let's lay out the chain of escalation exactly as the script presents it, because the order is what makes this whole thing feel like a runaway train. First, the Verzuz argument resurfaces. T.I. says he lost respect because 50 backed out or acted confused after discussions. Source then: insults start accusations of being a snitch, calling each other soft, King rat, paperwork, transcript, and the respect talk turning into character talk. Then, 50 posts an unflattering photo of Tiny, keep my name out your mouth. Source: then, King responds with a profanity-laced rant bringing up 50's deceased mother and telling him to post her grave. Then, King allegedly posts headstone images including Sabrina Jackson and uses dig up your mama language. Then, the internet reacts split between defend your mom and you crossed a dead mother line. Then, 50 responds with Pepe the Frog and lol. Source then: T.I. comments back aggressively and posts stories calling out 50's character. Then, T.I. previews War, a diss track snippet framed as part of a bigger project possibly tied to Kill the King. Source. And throughout all of it, Tiny, the person whose photo was posted and whose son defended her, has not made public comments, according to the script. That silence becomes its own curiosity magnet, because people start reading meaning into it. Is she trying to de-escalate? Is she unhappy with how King handled it? Is she staying out of it because she doesn't want to give the situation more oxygen? Or is she simply letting T.I. and King handle it while she remains above the chaos? The script doesn't answer that. It just points out the contrast. Everyone else is loud and she's quiet. And in an internet war, silence can be either strategy or discomfort. And the audience can't stop guessing which it is. Now, the reason the neck grab claim holds weight in the narrative is because the script frames King's move as more than disrespect it, frames it as endangering the family. That's a specific word choice, endangering. Because in this framing, the danger isn't only that people will be offended. The danger is that King is handed 50 Cent ammo that can be used whenever and however he wants. The script argues that T.I., with 20 plus years in the game, understands exactly what kind of enemy 50 can be, not just in lyrics, but in how he can keep something alive publicly and make it uncomfortable for a long time. So when people ask, did T.I. intervene and grab King by the neck after King endangered the family? The story is basically suggesting, even if you don't know whether it happened in this exact moment, the family has a history of physical intervention when King embarrasses them publicly. That's why the internet believes it's plausible. And that brings us to the biggest, most uncomfortable curiosity point of all. What does intervening look like when your son is 21 years old, emotional, online, and willing to say anything? Because parenting a child in private is one thing. Parenting a child who goes live and creates headlines is another. Parenting a child who jumps into a feud with 50 Cent and brings up a dead mother is a third category entirely. In that situation, if you're T.I., you're not just thinking like a father. You're thinking like a brand, a business, a public figure, and a man who knows how quickly the internet can turn one reckless moment into a permanent label. That's why the script frames T.I. worst possible anger as logical, not because King defended Tiny, but because of how he defended her. And that distinction is everything, because standing up for your mom is easy to justify, but the moment you do it by disrespecting a dead woman, posting grave sites, and using language like dig up your mama, you create consequences that don't disappear just because your dad drops a diss track. A diss track can be debated, a meme can be laughed off, but dead parent disrespect is the type of move that can create enemies for life. And the script keeps returning to the same warning. 50 Cent is not a man who forgets. So where does that leave everything right now? It leaves two veteran artists in an active dispute that has moved from Verzeus talk to snitching accusations to family targeting. It leaves a son who escalated the conflict to an extreme personal level. It leaves the audience watching TIS diss track preview frame by frame, waiting to see if a full version drops. It leaves 50 Cent publicly unbothered, which many people interpret as him being more dangerous, not less. It leaves Tiny silent. It leaves a big family connected to King's actions whether they like it or not. And then, sitting above all of it, is the question that keeps the entire story alive. Is this still internet beef, or has it crossed into something that can't be contained by posts, memes, and music? Because when a conflict starts with get in the box energy and ends up with a dead mother being dragged into it, the stakes change. The tone changes, the consequences change. And that's exactly why the claim about T.I. grabbing King by the neck doesn't sound random to people following this story. In the script's framing, it sounds like the next step in a pattern. King embarrasses the family publicly, and T.I. physically steps in. We've already seen a version of it at the Falcons game. Source. And now, after King's comments about Sabrina Jackson, the argument is that the embarrassment isn't just loud, it's risky. Because the opponent isn't just any rapper, it's 50 Cent. So if you're asking what comes next, the script's answer is essentially, this lull is not the end, it's the beginning of whatever 50 decides to do on his timeline. And whether the situation becomes full-blown war or stays trapped in the loop of Instagram posts, memes, and diss music may depend on whether T.I. can control the one variable that keeps throwing gasoline on every flame, King's public behavior. Because in this story, King isn't just participating, he's accelerating. And once a situation accelerates past a certain point, you don't get to rewind it. You don't get to unsay it. You don't get to unpost it fast enough. You only get to live with what it triggered. And right now, as this script frames it, the consequences of King's remarks are only beginning.